Cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came in a blizzard, we offered them heat, a roof for their heads, dry shoes for their feet. We wined them and dined them, they ate our meat, and they slept in the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came from Fort William with murder in mind. The Campbell had orders, King William had signed. They taught to the sword these words underlined, and leave none alive called MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came in the night when the men were asleep, this band o' Argyles, through snow soft and deep, like murdering foxes among helpless sheep. They slaughtered the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. Some died in their beds at the hand of the foe, some fled in the night, were lost in the snow, some lived to accuse him, was struck the first blow, but gone was the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the grave O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald.
All right, that was The Massacre of Glencoe by the Coreys. And as I said earlier, yesterday was the anniversary of the Massacre of Glencoe back on February 13th, 1692. Now today in Celtic history, we're going to be talking about Colonel John Hill and his relationship with Glencoe. Now it's an odd fact that out of all the civil and military figures involved in the Massacre of Glencoe, the one man who tried to prevent it from happening was an Englishman, Colonel John Hill, commander of Fort William. Hill was born in Kent and served in Cromwell's armies when they occupied Scotland in the early 1650s. In May 1657, he was appointed governor of the fort at Inverlochie, the present Fort William, where he managed to establish good relations with the Lochaber chiefs. At the restoration of Charles II in 1660, his superior general, Monk, decided that the Inverlochie fort should be evacuated and dismantled, and Hill left Lochaber and settled in Ireland, where he stayed until 1690. In July of 1690, Major General Hugh Mackay, Commander-in-Chief of the Army in Scotland for King William II and III, built Fort William on the Cromwellian foundations at Inverlochie and appointed Hill as commander of the new fort. On the basis of his previous acquaintance with the area, at Hill's request, King William granted the adjoining settlement of Maryborough, today the town of Fort William, a charter on 13th November 1690 as part of renewed plans to promote a civilian settlement in Lochaber. Hill again managed to establish peaceful relations within the Lochaber chiefs, who had all been Jacobite supporters in the First Rising, 1689-90, and was able to prevent the West Highland clans from reassembling as a Jacobite army. A general cessation of arms was agreed, and King William proclaimed that all the chiefs must take the oath of allegiance to him by 31st of December, 1691, or face reprisals. Late in December 1691, many major chiefs hurried to submit, fearing a full-scale military attack by the government. However, Alistair MacLean, MacDonald of Glencoe, chief of the Glencoe MacDonalds, was unable to make up his mind about taking the oath, and when he finally decided to do so, he left a little late. He arrived at Fort William on the 31st of December and asked Hill to administer the oath. However, Hill had no power to do this. The oath had to be sworn to a civilian authority, the sheriff in Inverary, and not to the military commander in Fort William. Trying to help MacLean, Hill gave him a letter explaining the confusion and sent him to Inverary. As it was the middle of winter, it took the chief 6 days to make the journey, but the sheriff there, Campbell of Ardkinglas, allowed him to take the oath and also wrote a letter to Edinburgh explaining why MacLean had been late in swearing. Hill had in the meantime made a formal preliminary agreement with MacDonald of Glengarry for that chief's surrender, which placed both Glengarry and Glencoe under his protection, and he ignored an order from Sir Thomas Livingston, commander-in-chief of the military in Scotland, to attack them if they held out. Now it seems, however, that the authorities in Edinburgh, and particularly John Dalrymple, Master of Stair, ignored Ardkinglas's explanatory letter and advised the king accordingly. On the 16th of January, 1692, Hill unexpectedly received King William's instructions, including a conditional order to extirpate the Glencoe men as a warning, with a violent covering letter from Dalrymple. Sir Thomas Livingston then wrote to Hill's deputy commander, who was hostile to Hill and wanted to replace him, emphasizing that destroying Glencoe was the way to win the favor of Dalrymple and the government. As Hill later testified, he considered these orders a nasty, dirty thing and was resolved rather to lay down his commission than to have put them into execution. And he delayed action, hoping for a countermand. Unfortunately, no such counter-order arrived, and by the 12th of February he had no pretext left for delay, and needing to reassert his authority over his officers, and especially over Hamilton, who was plotting against him with politicians in Edinburgh, he issued a brief authorization to Hamilton to march to Glencoe and execute Livingston's orders. The massacre ensued the next morning, the 13th of February, 1692. Hill then recovered his courage, ignored all orders to hunt down survivors, and asked permission to resettle them in their homes in Glencoe. His regiment kept order in the Highlands despite being undermanned, and he again worked to moderate Edinburgh's more disruptive orders. He attended the official inquiries held into the massacre of Glencoe of 1693 and 1694, and in the latter he was exonerated, but had to agree to the suppression of evidence incriminating Livingston. He was knighted about 1696, retired in 1698, and died in April 1701 in Edinburgh. So, I guess there was some good people there that was trying to stop this from happening, but if the king wants it, the king gets it.